how to create an unbreakable mindset. Not a perfect mindset, but an unbreakable one. One that bends, but doesn't break. Let me explain what I mean by this. Almost everything in life is primarily psychology, not so much mechanics, not so much strategy. So many people ask, what do I do? What do I do? Just tell me what to do. But most people fail. Like, think of just fitness in general, just getting in shape, just taking care of your body. 97% of people fail by the end of the year. Most people do not train consistently. Most people that do exercise consistently are kind of random. They don't have a system. And you look at them year after year, they actually get a little worse. They don't improve. And how can I say that? Because I own gyms for a long time. And I've been in gyms since I was like 12 years old. And I still work with people every day. And when you own a gym, you realize that it's not a place to get in shape. It's a place where people meet up and move around sometimes. But people are very habitual and they're not strategic. And I think the reason for that is that they don't know how the mind works. And I've been blessed because my father was an athlete. He was a fighting champion. I grew up playing sports. And then somehow I've always been surrounded by champions. And like even my little league coaches were like, one in football he had 2 Super Bowl rings on. I remember seeing them when I was a little kid. I'm like, wow, my coach is a Super Bowl champion 2 times. But that went on my entire career. And then I started training athletes and I started working with fighters. And I've worked with 5 world champion fighters, for instance. And you start to notice patterns. And what you notice is, you could call it like attitude. Some people call it swagger. But really what it is, it's their mindset. They see themselves as the champion before they become the champion. Because here's the principle. I'm going to give you 2 what I call lion laws. And if you just apply these 2, your life will be massively improved. I promise you, because I've learned this by being around incredible, extraordinary humans from all walks of life. And these are the beliefs they have on some level. They may not know it consciously, but they live it. So lion law number 1, you might want to write this down. I absolutely and utterly refuse every story of limitation that I use to justify or rationalize being less than I am capable. In other words, refuse limitation. Don't allow your brain to make stories up to make you do less or be less than you really are capable. It happens all the time. The brain is actually designed. The research, I believe, is done by Dan Ariely, and it showed that the brain, we literally make up stories and tell ourselves lies in order to avoid discomfort, in order to feel better about ourselves, even though we're doing something that could actually better our lives and probably better the lives of those we care about. So we must refuse limitation. This is the most basic, the foundational belief of every happy, successful, fulfilled person I've ever met. In fact, many of them, myself included, I get a little angry in a good way, in a resourceful way, when someone tells me that we can't do that. When someone says, like, no, that's not possible. Because I could tell they didn't look at it from every angle. And so when someone starts telling me their limitations or why they couldn't exercise, why I couldn't train today, I have zero interest in why you can't or why you didn't do something. All I know is you said you were going to do something and you did not do it. Now, are there times where I understand, like someone's in a car accident? I understand. But did you train in the morning? Because that's the deal. We train in the morning. We wake up in the morning and we step into and embody the lion, the lioness, our higher self, our highest and best self. And we step into and joyfully crush the assigned training program. And we embrace discomfort from a place of joyful determination and presence. That starts to wire up, because neuroscience 101, what fires together wires together. So if you do this 6 times a week, what happens is you start to wake up this way. That becomes your new default, not this other default, the default of you at your best. But you have to call it forth. It doesn't happen. The default is the environment shapes you, and the environment's not going to shape you the way you want. You're going to be shaped to respond the way the world wants you to be. And that's a place of suffering. That's a place of limitation. And you deserve better than that. So that's lion law number 1. Lion law number 2. This is a principle, the principle of mentalism, but it states this. Everything that's ever been created or achieved was first created in the theater of the mind. What does that mean? You get an idea, a thought, and then you start to think about it. You start to contemplate. You start to question, like, what if we did this? What if this worked? Wouldn't it be great if we could fix this problem? Look, what would the impact be on my life, on the lives of those I love, on the lives of all the people that would be affected by this? And you start to get excited, and that picture starts to form, and it gets bigger and brighter and closer to you. And then it starts to become a motion picture, and it's exciting. That is where inspiration comes from. Most people don't take the time to think. They don't take the time to contemplate and to imagine what they're going to create first. And so great athletes win first. Then they go to the arena. Think of that. When you go into, you're going to go pick up your kids. Instead of just reacting and being in a state, rushing through traffic, whatever it may be, you come in, you just take a moment and imagine how grateful you are for them and what joy they brought to your life and how you want to show up for them in this moment. Because maybe they had a tough day at school. You never know what happened, right? But how do you want to show up in different perspectives? But we decide in advance. We don't allow the world to shape us. We shape the world around us. That is leadership. I want to be a heart-driven leader. That's what I mean by being a lion. These are the principles. There's more, but these are the foundational ones. This is where you start. So we don't train to change your body. That is an effect of it. And we do want that. We want to optimize the gift of the mind and body. We have been blessed, most of us have been blessed here, with an able mind and body. And if every day it gets a little better or a little worse, it happens so slowly. And there was a study done, this was on women, college age, from the ages of 20 to 40, so it's a 20-year study, and they measured their body composition, their weight, when they were 20, and then when they came back for the 20th reunion, they did it again. And on average, they gained 10 pounds on the scale. But when they looked at their muscle and fat ratios, they actually lost 20 pounds of muscle and gained 30 pounds of fat, which was a drastic difference. But it happened so slowly because it was only 10 pounds on the scale. So that's like a half a pound a year over that 20 years. Think of that. And so it's insidious. It's like a slow leak in the tire. That's why we have to act each day. And you need a higher purpose for training. Most people train because they don't feel like they're enough. They're like, oh, I need to lose this. Oh, when I weigh this much, then I'll be happy. Then I'm worthy of life's rewards. That's a belief, and it's a lie. It's not true. If you're here and you breathe and you have a heartbeat, you're here for a reason and a purpose. It's up to you to express that. And the way you express it is you step in to your highest and best self. You put yourself in some sort of state of love-based emotion. That's your natural state of being. And so what does that mean? Love-based emotion is gratitude, appreciation, joy, passion. It could be courage. You get it. It's any love-based emotion. That's a positive or constructive emotion. Those emotional states give you energy. They generate energy. Now, fear-based states are like anger. Anger is kind of like on the bridge between the two because you can have righteous anger, which it's high energy. So you can use it to go into love-based emotion and go into gratitude. Or push yourself into positive action, or you can dwell on it and then lower your energy or be hateful or resentful, or you could go to a place of sadness or depression, or just a really low state of apathy, like where you don't care, you don't feel like you're shameful or guilty. Those are very low energy states, and those are destructive states. Those states can't last. They will eventually fall in upon themselves. And so we want to go into a state of love-based emotion. That is step number one. You put yourself in love-based emotion. So think of the acronym LION, L-I-O-N. L, love-based emotion. You summon that line, and you can do it by moving your body, by training. You could do it by yelling. You could do it anything. Or just start telling yourself the story, because we become the stories we tell and believe. And we believe them because we tell them so often. That's what a belief is. It's an automated thought. It's a story we keep telling over and over again. And usually it's not based on evidence or facts. We hear one thing. Well, someone will quote a research study and we're like, oh, that's true. Or someone that wrote a book will say, you should have lemon juice in the morning. And then everyone's like, I got to do lemon juice. And they'll tell you it's good for something. When you look it up, that's not really true. Look at the studies. But is it bad? No, it's not hurting anyone, so it's not a big deal. But you're perpetuating lies because what that you were told was a lie. And now you're sharing it. right? And I was guilty of this many times. That's why I'm so careful and I'm so diligent. I'm vigilant about these things. I never want to harm someone. I don't want to harm myself either, for heck's sake, right? So we want to get in that love-based emotion, and then identify and imagine what you are looking to create. How do you want to show up? What is the outcome and the purpose? What do you want to create and why? You want to identify it. Most people never take the time to do this. This is so important. And when you're in that state of love-based emotion, maybe you're in joyful determination and presence. Like when we train, that's what we want to call forth. Then you are more creative. You have access to all your resources and capabilities and skills. And then next, what's going to happen is the landmine's going to kick in. The fear, the survival mind, the fear self, the part of you that you learned to be when you were a little kid. It served you then, but no longer. It's a limitation. That's that landmine. You have to, obliterate every story of limitation. Back to lion law number 1, right? Absolutely and utter refuse every story of limitation. They are lies and they do not serve you. So obliterate it and do what you got to do to eliminate it, but do not accept it. Do not romance it. Don't say, well, maybe sometimes. No, that's unacceptable. It only ends up to one place, and that's regret every time. And now is the time. Presence is always the point of power. Presence, the present moment, is always the point of power. You cannot do anything in the future. We look ahead at the future, and then we come back to this moment. That's what we do. At the end of the day, we'll look back at the day. So right now, just look behind you. We look back at the end of the day, and we pull the lessons that we can use so we don't repeat the mistakes we may have made today. Then we look back up at the horizon and we imagine and identify our North Star, our guiding light. What are we here to create? Who are we at our best? Remind yourself of those truths. What is your vision, your purpose, your goals? And it can be something small, just to show up in love-based emotion, to be more appreciative, light up the people you care about, to create value for the people you serve, whatever it is. Just to be present with your dog when you're with your dog, These little things matter. And then we look forward, dead ahead, straight in the eyes, the present moment. The present moment is always the point of power. Remember, we train each day for self-mastery. Self-mastery is this: the awareness, the management, and the eventual mastery of the 3 pillars of creation. The only 3 things in life that we control. It's our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. That is the trilogy of creation. I hope when you hear this, it resonates with you. I cannot emphasize how important it is. Because if you want to create life on your terms, if you want to have a life where you live greatly, you make an impact, a beautiful impact on all the people you interact with, maybe not all of them, but most of them, right? And you see yourself and others through that lens of unconditional love, or what I would call the eyes of God. You have no regrets. That's what it's about, my friend. And we got to do these little things. We got to honor the body. We got to strengthen the body, build lean muscle, make sure we don't have excess fat that's causing inflammation. So we want to have this strong body so that our joints are protected, so we can move, so we're not enslaved by the body as the years go by. Instead, we're empowered by it. Because when you can do things when you're 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever, if you're able, there's a man that runs marathons. He's 111 years old, for God's sake. That is incredible. But I've run marathons. No one cares. You know what I mean? The amount of influence, the ability to inspire people just when you're older, just because you've been around for a while, you have all this wisdom. But if you take care of your body at the same time, your words will have power. Your words will have greater impact. It's something to look forward to. You can pass it on to the next generation, whether you write books or you do podcasts, whatever it is, but you're sharing your wisdom, because as you live consciously, you learn a little bit each day. We make mistakes and learn from it, so those are gifts. But we also have victories and triumphs, but the defeats are just as important. Keep this in mind, my friends. Remember, you were born a lion, not a lamb. You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself.
The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.